Jennings is no tough guy, okay? And he did work for the Bush administration as it lied to us about weapons of mass destruction. So his track record is as stated. But let's be honest, he's paid to do this. He is the draw on that show. It's not the host. You can't even name any of the other people on it. Isn't this what people say they want?
During a recent segment on News Nation, Chris Cuomo took aim at conservative commentator Scott Jennings after a tense exchange involving progressive host Adam Mockler. The discussion quickly turned into a larger debate about media behavior, political commentary, and how certain pundits react when challenged directly with facts. Cuomo was joined by Geraldo Rivera and Chris Sununu, and the panel didn't hold back while dissecting the now viral moment. What stood out most wasn't just the argument itself, but the way Jennings appeared to unravel once the conversation shifted away from talking points and toward verifiable information. We're going to break down the key clips, examine what each side got right, and also where I think they completely missed the mark. Because beneath the television drama, there's a bigger conversation happening about political media culture and the double standards that often come with IT. So let's unpack the full situation and take a closer look at what really happened during that exchange.
This exchange between 48-year-old CNN conservative contributor Scott Jennings and 23-year-old progressive podcaster Adam Mockler is a metaphor for what passes as political debate in the hellscape that we are in.
We all know that Scott Jennings is more than happy to defend a war with a country that starts with the letters IRA that we are currently failing, that is going to put us trillions and trillions of dollars more in debt. I was only a few years old while you were in the administration defending prior endless wars. Now this war is failing.
8 weeks is endless to you?
Okay, you said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks.
You have the attention span of a gnat?
Homie, I debated you on TV 4 to 6 weeks ago, and you said we were weeks away from it. Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not going your way.
Name one political concession. Name one political concession.
Honestly, I'm not going to have this guy's in my face.
Everybody, hang tight,
Honestly.
okay? No, everybody calm down.
What a joke. I mean, it's just... Jennings is no tough guy, okay? And he did work for the Bush administration as it lied to us about weapons of mass destruction. So his track record is as stated. But let's be honest. He's paid to do this. He is the draw on that show. It's not the host. You can't even name any of the other people on it. Isn't this what people say they want? Millions of clicks, millions of views. Joining me now, News Nation's correspondent at large, Geraldo Rivera, who was sitting at the table when it happened, and former governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, who was once called a dick by CNN's Anderson Cooper, and no one argued it wasn't accurate, but it wasn't nice.
Maybe.
No, I'm kidding.
All right.
Chris, Geraldo, we are all among friends, and look, both of you know, I can get hot. I would never treat anybody. You'd never see that here. You'd never see me allow it here because I know how destructive it is to the decorum. But Geraldo, you were there. What was your read?
I was right there. Well, you know, it came out of nowhere. I don't have close relationships with Scott Jennings. I just run into him time to time. And the kid I never met before. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't so much the physicality of it as it was Scott coming back and saying, get that effing finger out of my face. I said, whoa, Dusty would never allow that. She'd beat the hell out of that baby. So it was kind of stunning to see the interaction, the violence of it. What was the kid saying? Not much. He was kind of a smarty pants podcaster. I think you identify him very accurately. One of the 20-something podcasters. Scott, though, is a veteran. And Scott really seemed spontaneously to lose his temper with the kid. If there were blows thrown, I would have done something about it. But it just was, to me, it seemed natural. It did not seem feigned at all. It seemed sincere. If profane with the F word, and I think that's a big change in our business. How people now
tell you what.
Say bullshit on a regular basis.
Yeah, look, I mean, the words aren't what have the power. It's the emotions behind them. Chris, right? I mean, I saw the thing, Governor, with you and Anderson. Anderson's a good guy. Okay, I don't know where that was coming from. I've never heard him do anything like that before. He apologized. You were really nice about it. Sure. But I also think that Anderson Cooper and Chris Sununu, you are not what they want these days. They want this, okay? This is what the people want on social media, and this is what the algorithms reward. I do not think Scott Jennings is blind to that. If it were 6 years ago and he was sitting next to me, I guarantee you he wouldn't have said that for two reasons. One, who was sitting next to him, and two, it was not rewarded then.
Yeah, look, I mean, I like Scott. I think he does a good job on that show for the most part. He's sometimes like 4 against 1, but he lost his cool, and you can't do that. Everyone knows that. He lost his cool. But look, for me, when I saw this, and I think both of you can relate, this is like the epitome of annoying little brother energy. Some 23-year-old kid who's never done anything, just poking and poking and poking. And I know, Chris, you've been there because you've done the poking to Andrew. That's right. And don't tell me, Geraldo, you didn't put Craig in a couple headlocks in your game too, right?
Yeah, and he'd hit him.
You keep it in the
would hit. Hold on, Chris. But Chris, you're a younger brother too. I got hit.
That's right.
Geraldo hit and got hit. You got hit. That is a different vibe. This is, I say mean, angry things, but I'm not going to do anything. It's performative. That's my problem with it, Geraldo, is that cool. I don't think it's organic. I think he's losing his cool because it's okay to do so.
But the kid was a dick. I mean, he really smart, eloquent, had his argument.
This is where I completely disagree with the framing from Geraldo Rivera. He suggested Adam Mockler crossed a line or acted disrespectfully, but if you actually watch the full segment from beginning to end, that argument falls apart pretty quickly. Mockler largely stayed focused on facts and direct responses, while Scott Jennings repeatedly relied on sarcastic remarks and dismissive behavior. Jennings made comments about Mockler's age, joked about him being up past his bedtime, and sprinkled in the kind of smug side remarks viewers have come to expect from him on cable panels. And this wasn't an isolated moment. Anyone familiar with Jennings' appearances knows the pattern. He often smirks at the camera, interrupts with sarcastic commentary, and frames disagreement as some kind of attack on patriotism. Critics of a policy suddenly become anti-American, and any pushback is treated like a personal offense. That style may work as television theater, but it becomes a problem when the person on the other side refuses to get rattled. Instead of matching the insults, Mockler stayed composed and kept returning to the substance of the discussion. That contrast is what made the segment so revealing. What we saw was a familiar political media dynamic, aggressive commentary going unchecked until someone pushes back calmly and effectively. Then suddenly the conversation shifts toward civility and tone. That's why I don't buy the idea that both sides behaved equally here. Scott Jennings came into that discussion acting confrontational from the start, while Adam Mockler maintained control of himself and the conversation. There's a major difference between responding firmly and behaving disrespectfully, and I think viewers clearly recognized that distinction.
Really being a dick. I mean, it was shut up, go out and get some life experience.
How many different ways do the three of us, so you have one of the best broadcasters in history, right? Mr. Mediocre in the middle, and Governor Sununu, who's one of the most celebrated public officials in his state, period. All of us have at least 6 ways. Dusty just said, what? My favorite governor ever. Oh, there you go. And she knows my brother's going to kill her for that, but that's okay. We all have at least 6 ways to deal with somebody trying to get our goat, right? You would never allow yourself to act that way or the way you would with your brother. Right? I'm telling you.
Scott Jennings was on a debate panel debating with somebody with a completely different viewpoint, with him doing nothing but presenting facts, as Scott Jennings had been condescending through the whole thing, as he always is on Abby Phillips' show. And that was not Adam Mockler getting his goat. That was Adam Mockler debating in a professional way, presenting reality, pushing back against Scott Jennings' fantasy that everything's going great with this war. What did Scott Jennings expect?
Here's my concern, is that what you represent, Chris, is being lost right now. I believe the majority wants it. I believe the majority wants somebody who shows their character by how they react. Geraldo, you have never meant more to the country than you have, I'd say, in the last 7, 8 years, with your perspective, your calm, your poise. You've seen it all. You've been through it all. Nothing rattles you. There is something in that we're missing in moments like this, and they're doing it on purpose, brother. That's my concern, Chris. What makes it better?
It's terrible. No, it's terrible, but it's not going away. I mean, that's the most frustrating part.
No way.
Is that it's about the clicks, it's about clickbait, it's about headlines, this is the epitome of populism, and it's even worse when you go to Capitol Hill and you see both sides of the extremes doing it on Capitol Hill. Congressional hearings are less about what's being discussed and more about the clicks and the feed. So it's bad enough to see it at 10 p.m. on CNN. It's awful to see it on Capitol Hill.
It's the highest rated show.
I hear that. I hear that. And Governor, I take you at your word. You're a very sincere man. But there was a freshness about it. I thought, that kid never expected that kind of old man to respond in the way Scott Jennings responded. And I don't know that Scott knew that he...
The panel also brought up comparisons involving inflammatory rhetoric, but it's important to be accurate about what was actually said. Adam Mockler never called Scott Jennings a Nazi, never resorted to name-calling, and never lost control of the conversation. What happened instead was much simpler. Jennings attempted to bait him into an emotional reaction, and Mockler refused to take the bait. That's the part many mainstream commentators seem to gloss over when they default to the usual, both sides are equally responsible narrative. Chris Sununu talked about negativity in political discourse, and Chris Cuomo stressed professionalism on television. But if those are truly the standards being applied, then Adam Mockler was the one who actually met them during that exchange. He stayed measured, stuck to facts, and avoided personal attacks entirely. Scott Jennings, meanwhile, behaved exactly the way critics say he often does. The smirking, the condescending tone, the camera looks, the dismissive attitude, it was all there again. The difference this time was that he encountered someone who remained calm under pressure and challenged him directly without turning the segment into a shouting match. That appeared to frustrate Jennings because the usual performance tactics weren't working. Instead of controlling the room with sarcasm and confidence, he was being confronted by someone younger who stayed disciplined and focused on reality rather than political spin. And that's really the larger takeaway from this entire moment. Political bullies lose momentum when the person across from them refuses to be intimidated. You don't counter arrogance by panicking or screaming louder. You counter it by staying composed, using facts, and refusing to get emotionally dragged into the spectacle. That's why this exchange resonated with so many viewers online. People recognized the imbalance immediately. One person stayed professional throughout the discussion, while the other seemed increasingly irritated that his usual tactics weren't landing the same way. So no, I don't think this was a fair, both sides situation at all. I think Adam Mockler handled himself effectively, while Scott Jennings struggled once the conversation moved beyond rehearsed political messaging. Now I want to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with Cuomo, Sununu, and Geraldo that both sides share blame here? Or do you think Mockler simply exposed the weaknesses in Jennings' approach during that debate? Drop your opinion below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more coverage and analysis on moments like this.
In your life, Chris Cuomo, I know in your life, you have been in situations where you have been magnificent in your restraint. I mean, people don't realize because you sit behind a desk, you're a giant of a man. I mean, you're big, you're built like, it wasn't that.
Look at those forearms,
this
for
wasn't
God's
that.
sakes, he's got the sleeves pulled up.
Of a Java man. Yeah, it's all true.
This wasn't that. This was just, a kid went one step too far. The elder statesman says, hey, and I don't think he premeditated, just, had the reaction, get that hand out of my face. And I've said that a million times in my life. Get that effing hand out of my face.
Well, you wouldn't say it now because you've never seen,
I wouldn't
since
say
the
it now.
60s.
Now I'm 83 years old.
People are killing people. They are shooting people out of political extremism. Sure. We are seeing it in a way we have not seen it. I'm not saying it is caused by what we are talking about, but it is correlated to what we are talking about. If the left doesn't want to own it, that's on them. But the extreme talk is manifesting itself against a unique agitator in President Trump, okay? And the right, we've seen it for years, and we see it in the president. I am worried we are not even close to the worst we're going to see, Geraldo. That's why I police this stuff. And by the way, I violate my own rule. I know. And I try.
You are the epitome of restraint in your years as an anchorman now. You flew up the handle as a younger person, perhaps, but I remember when I had the infamous skinhead brawl with in my studio with the racist skinheads, and they broke my nose and all that. It was all. I never got more congratulations from the way to go. Mm-hmm. Hey, that's it. High five. This. Next time, and but this was not hateful. This was an annoyed grown-up with a bratty, smart kid.
But you know what the difference was, Chris? And I'll give you the last word on this. Geraldo fought against real Nazis. Now we just call whoever we disagree with Nazis, and that's my concern.
It's true.
Yeah, it's out of control. And look, I'll go back to the number one rule in when you're in the public sphere: you don't punch down. Right? You don't. I mean, he took the bait. Scott absolutely took the bait from that kid and forgot that rule of you don't punch down. He should have just ignored it and moved on. But to your point, it is getting more violent. It is getting more extreme. And that's getting normalized. and that's not the way it should be. I think I'm different. I think it gets better over time. I really do. I'm an eternal optimist, because if I thought differently, then God help us for the next 30 years. But I am optimistic that over time, this actually can get better. We haven't learned. We invented social media, but we don't have the maturity to understand how to use it properly. And I think the hope is that the next generation actually develops into that, because they actually grew up with it.
Okay. So I'm ending on this, Geraldo. He's saying he's going to run. He's not saying